Alrighty, I'm trying this again for a second time. It's my first time doing a live on my phone, so I wanted to try this out. I was hoping to have a few people join me, hear their thoughts as well, but I'm just going to make this a short video, and I wanted to talk about the war that's going on with Ukraine and Russia and social media. I just want to share just some of my own thoughts, and it'd be nice to hear from you guys as well. So go ahead and leave me a comment if you're here. Um, I just thought the other day that this war is so different from other wars that we read about in our history books, and a lot of it has to do with how our technology, it's almost like it brings us into the war zone. And it's crazy being able to see these things. It's almost like the things that I've been seeing on social media, especially on Twitter. It almost looks like a bad movie, like they were trying to make a war movie and they made it look so not real. Like it doesn't look like a real war is happening. But this is real. This is real life. And it's crazy all the footage that people are sharing on social media. Um, it's just really sad, honestly. Um, it's sad because just from a person, just a person looking at these things happening to both sides, right? And you're not going to get a necessarily political perspective here on this video. So if you're all for war, I mean, you're not going to find that necessarily on this video. I'm not really touching on those topics. I'm just saying, like, seeing the footage, it's just really sad and very real. I've seen things where they're showing the tanks and like the dead bodies there, and it's just very real. And it's one of those things where I'm like, I'm not sure if I should be looking at this. I want to, but at the same time, I'm like, I'm not sure, because it's not a movie, and we are not these people that are heartless, right? We are affected by the things that we see. So I know there's a lot of people that it's kind of like out of sight, out of mind. But there's other people that struggle with anxiety, for example. And people that struggle with anxiety sometimes will take things like this a little more, uh, in a more worrisome way, especially when you have like a lot of these news people just talking about these things, and you hear pastors also on Twitter and things like that, and it's just it can feed your anxiety. So I was thinking, wow, it's very real. Like war, like from here on, it's just going to be like in your face, Um, I'm not a political buff, so it's like I'm just educating myself on like these countries, and but what we can see is like, is this even necessary for all of these people to be dying, and for all of these homes and this country to be destroyed in this way? And I've seen things also where just regular civilians, women included, older women, young women. I saw a picture of a woman that was crying. I've seen others where they look really brave, but that picture in particular was very real, and it just kind of put me in that situation. Like, how would I feel? Like, sure, I would, I just kind of thought, okay, this woman feels like her life is in jeopardy, maybe, like if she does nothing, so she's gonna fight even though she's terrified. Maybe that was a moment where she was overwhelmed by the situation, and that's when they took the picture. And it's just so crazy to see these people going through this. And a lot of people have been sharing about how um, the leader of Ukraine is such a brave person, right? Um, yeah, I agree. Um, and it's to me, it's interesting to see like a lot of men just pointing that out, like, wow, this is what real leadership looks like. And to me, it almost seems like men are looking men are looking for real leadership in this world, and it's really interesting to see how um, a leader can impact the people in his country to be brave like him, and women.
Hello.
My son wants to say hello. So yeah, I just wanted to come on here. What did we miss, Susan? Anything? Jordan is asking. I'm just sharing my thoughts about how real it is to see a lot of the war images on social media. I was just sharing about a couple of things that I've seen. And just, I have to remind myself, as someone that does deal with like anxiety, just to keep things in perspective. I remember the last thing that happened with Afghanistan. That was like crazy, like just to see those images. So just a lot of the violence that's going on in our world today, it's so different from other like times, because we didn't have those videos like we do now. So yeah, maybe we can talk a little bit about how we should process these things as Christians. I'd love to hear your thoughts on it. For me, as someone that deals with things, as someone that deals with anxiety, I have to remind myself that God is in control. And it's really interesting when you listen to the things that some pastors with their own like soteriological views, right? The way they understand how God is sovereign. It's really interesting how they pray even about what's going on in the war. And for me, I just pray that for me, my perspective is that God, my kids are playing in the backyard. I think that, okay, God knows what's going on in the world, and He has His, we're in His plan, right? This world is not about what we want to do in the world, but we're somewhere in God's plan. He has He started this universe. He has an end goal. So whatever our views on the end times are as well. I mean, I could be wrong about my views on the end times and be misreading what's going on. So I want to just be mindful that God knows what's going on. I can pray for what I think needs to happen. My personal prayers are that God will stop, Russia from invading this country, that God would stop the bloodshed and the destruction, and ultimately that He'll stop, potential World War III from happening. That's my desire. That's what I pray to God. And I also pray that people will be bold and share the gospel to all these people, because, these soldiers, they're dying, or these civilians, and they're going somewhere. So they need people to preach the gospel to them. So those are my two things. And I really have to like remind myself, hey, everything's all right, no matter what happens. You know, God must know. If what I want doesn't happen, then it's because God knows better, you know? And we just pray. Um, so, yeah, I'm trying to read some of your comments. It's hard for me to see it, but let me try it right here. Jordan said, I agree entirely. I do think much goes against that God's perfect will on the way to the end, though. Yeah. So, well, from what we can tell, I mean, there's just some things that are obviously wrong, you know, and it just doesn't seem right for people to have to, like, suffer this way. People have to seek refuge at other countries. Michael says, he gives us what we need, and sometimes what we need matches up with what we want. Yeah. So there's a lot of ways to process this as a Christian, and I just don't want to limit my view based off of what I believe, like my soteriological views are, or my epistemological views about the end of times. Is that the word? You guys help me out. I'm like drawing a blank right now. Yeah, so I'm just trying to keep things simple as possible. There was a preaching today. I went to church and someone was talking about the gospel. It was all about the gospel. But the person mentioned like something in there about we were all born sinful or something like that. And then it just made me wonder, like, really, is that the gospel, or is that just what we're adding to it, you know, like, and it got me thinking. Thank you, Jordan. Eschatological. Thank you. The end of times, eschatology. Thank you. And I was just thinking, like, do we add more to Christianity, to the gospel, to the Bible? You know, shouldn't we just keep things as simple as possible? Sometimes, of course, it's fun, and of course, it's necessary to dive deeper into these things, but can we all just agree on certain things and try to see like current events through the same lens, you know? So that's where I'm at personally, just trying to think things like that. And I don't know, do you guys want to share how you seeing certain things, I mean, any positives, any negatives, to seeing like actual war footage? I was thinking, okay, there's good that comes from this, because you get Americans, for example, involved, and you can motivate like protests and things like that, and that prompts your leaders, right, to respond to what's going on. But at the same time, like, is all of this footage helpful to the enemy? You know, like, shouldn't they have some privacy when it comes to this war? Is that going to give their enemy more advantage? And then the whole our countries are like indirectly intervening to help Ukraine. I mean, is that, what are your thoughts, guys? Like, the last thing I heard was that there was this talk about something potentially starting to go nuclear, and so I'm listening to the lady that usually talks to the press, which a lot of conservatives like don't even believe anything that she says about other things. So are we going to believe her when it comes to how they're responding to the war, right? So I'm just trying to keep an open mind about everything that I'm seeing, hearing from our own government, and just trying to keep a perspective where there's a bigger picture here, You know, there's always been wars, right? It's just different, like seeing it. Let me go to the chat real quick. Michael says, Christ died on the cross not to keep us from suffering, but not suffering eternally. And as Paul said, let us be content through all things. Yeah. I mean, there were wars throughout the Old Testament, right? So it's not like there isn't a place for it. Sometimes it just seems unnecessary in this situation. Let me go to the other comments. Michael says, I have a dear friend in Ukraine. She retired from ministry and was able to get her family to Poland. So that was good news. The enemy will use the bad to lead us to despair. Yeah, so we have to keep our guard up and hold on to our peace, pray. And, you know, I've been thinking, okay, we want to praise the leader, right? The brave leaders and the men and women. Absolutely. I love seeing those things, actually, like seeing all these. It's inspiring and it's good for the morale, right? But I just keep thinking, hey, like we need to not look for a savior in people like we do in the political world often. We need to, you know, really like glorify God even in these things. I think we need to like give God his place in this, what we're seeing, you know. I heard someone say something like God doesn't choose sides, but I don't know what you guys think about that. Let me know in the comments section. I think this video is probably long enough. I have to go hang out with my kids for the rest of this Sunday. Going to go have some ice cream right now. And
Mom, can you build the thing for us?
yeah, and build a bug hotel in our backyard and not talk about such serious things. Alrighty guys. Leave me more of your leave me your comments. I really do want to hear your comments to help me process through these things, to hear a different perspective as well. All right, I'll chat with you guys in the comments area. Thanks for stopping by.